Its construction featured an all-metal monocoque and a closed canopy, as well as a retractable undercarriage. Having seen service during the Spanish Civil War, it continued to be competitive against Allied fighters right up to the end of the Second World War. Although it had been conceived as an interceptor, during the Battle of Britain, its main role was as a fighter escort for the bombers.
Just to keep warm. Do-do-do-do.
Whether that achieves what he wants to achieve, putting the wicket straight or getting the message, would suggest that he maybe hasn't seen the show. You don't decide your destiny on the cutting room floor. That's down to the editors. They got one concern: maximum ratings. The moment Rishi Sunak walked past Matt Hancock and the current party leader, led some to make Hancock the material of the wicket. So, for the coming years, he thinks that too.
There is criticism from all sides. As you said, the he's taking a safe assuming he's assuming that he's the end.
Well, he says that he doesn't expect to be in government, although, of course, that's not always a very reliable guide. That's what happened. Michael Gove said a couple months ago he didn't expect to be back in government, and now he's levelling up the secretary. And it's not completely impossible that could be a bit, but we saw Vicky Durham come in. She did my report.
You're right, everybody. Just changing position from upstairs to downstairs because it's not very clear upstairs. Might be a little bit clearer downstairs.
The Prime Minister has distanced himself from his Home Secretary's controversial
There.
claim that the
Let's
UK
hope
is
that's
facing an
better.
invasion by migrants.
I know it's not ideal, but there you go. Hope you enjoy. Please join if you're watching.
But it all comes as anti-terror police have started investigating the firebomb in the Immigration Processing Centre in the weekend, said the Cabinet reports.
Andrew Meek, 66 years old at the time, stayed twice police
If you'll excuse me a minute.
at an immigration centre in Dover and downstairs at a nearby petrol station. He had taken his own life. Counter-terrorism officers are now investigating a firebomb attack on this centre, which they described as inevitable and likely to spread like heat. But they are still investigating whether they are terrorist-related. It is where all four officers process to cross-examine all boats. The incident has once again thrown a spotlight on the issue of the migrant crisis, specifically the scandal over conditions at this asylum processing centre, an analysis by the Home Secretary of the House of Commons yesterday.
The British people deserve to know which party is serious about stopping the invasion.
Today, this was the response of one of her ministers.
The expression that is trying to explain the sheer courage of the 40,000 across the ministers involved in and another
After the outcry about the overcrowded metro in London, we saw at least 3 coaches full of migrants being run through the filthy city, where they've been taken to the mud. Well, the union representing some staff that work here at London say that they've been told around 400 people will be removed from this facility by tonight. Figures that have yet to be confirmed by the Home Office. But thousands of people still remain here in conditions that were reports described as very concerning and with calls for the government to get a grip.
Are you recording it?
No,
it's live.
About the rhetoric that's being used to describe this crisis.
Central Courier in Manston, Kent. Thank you. And more than 1,000 jobs are at risk in the pain from Morrison proposal to shut down. £90 million invested in May. It plans to overhaul the convenience retailer after the competition regulators said this year.
Turn that off because I'm not going to do that thing until you turn that off.
Now, of course, the government to take more in all taxes.
Well, what do you want then?
I want to tell you. Recorded a massive rise in global profits. It made more than £7 billion in the period from July to September. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt will make an autumn statement in a couple of weeks. Here's our business editor, Joe Hills.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been the harshest rise of the gas to access Indeed they would. The government has already imposed a windfall tax on operators in the North Sea, where BP is one of the biggest oil and gas producers. But the company trades in more than 70 countries around the world, and governments everywhere would like a share of the spoils.
We understand it's a very difficult time for our society right now, and we understand why people focus on local profits. We understand the challenges that government face as they go through this very difficult time. And of course, we pay taxes.
2 years ago, BP paid absolutely nothing in tax on its North Sea operations. This year, the company expects to pay almost £2.2 billion. This is in large part due to the government's energy profits levy, which increased the headline rate of tax on profits from oil and gas in the North Sea from 40% to 65% from May. When companies can get tax relief of 91 pence for every pound they reinvest in new oil and gas extraction. The Treasury has a hole in the public finances which needs filling and is under pressure to rethink the design of the windfall tax. There are calls to abolish reliefs and to hike the main rate further.
Some institutions in the UK are more gas production versus others.
The UK has one of the most generous tax regimes in the world for oil and gas. And even with windfall tax, our overall tax rate on the gas companies is still below the global average. So the government could be going much further in increasing the tax that it imposes on us.
BP breaks even when the market price of oil reaches $40 a barrel. A year ago, the market price hit $85, which executives described BP as a cash machine. Between July and September this year, the price of oil averaged $100 a barrel, and the company expects it to remain elevated for the rest of this year. Mind-blowing sums of money have fallen into BP's lap
Interestingly, the company has chosen not to use any of it to increase funding for low-carbon energy. The windfall billions would instead be spent repaying debt and rewarding shareholders. Nothing wrong with that, but BP's pledge to reach net zero by 2050 requires colossal investment. John Hills, ITV News.
House prices across the UK have fallen for the first time in more than a year. It follows a sharp rise in mortgage rates following Liz Truss's disastrous mini-budget. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates still higher on Thursday. From the West Midlands, here is our QCS.
The vibrant West Midlands has a busy property market. And here, despite all the economic uncertainties, Graham Cooper sold his home and bought a new one in the last few weeks.
If we'd waited 6 months, we might have been able to buy a new house cheap. But just we were keen to move, and this is a long-term move.
The survey suggests average UK home prices fell almost 1% in October compared to the previous month, the biggest fall since June 2020. Annual house price growth slowed sharply from 9.5% in September to 7.2% last month. It leaves the average UK home price at just over £268,000. This Midlands estate agent says actions of the former Chancellor increased borrowing costs, leading to a rapid impact on housing transactions. Just how big was the impact of the mini-budget in September on the property market?
We saw some buyers that obviously pulled out and decided to not pursue purchase either through their own choice or forced for whatever reason from a cost point of view. We have had some buyers that have moved offers expire and
Property researchers today said an average first-time buyer would now have to spend around 45% of take-home pay on loan repayments.
I think first-time buyers will feel encouraged that prices are going down. But on the other hand, the cost of mortgages is going up. So where does all this lead from?
The reality is that the market has shifted. We've been so used to low interest rates. The interest rate position now is only going to get worse moving forward from here. So they need to come to terms with the fact that they're going to need to save a little bit more money.
But how much more they'll need could grow as potential buyers now focus on the Bank of England's interest rate decision coming later this week, with experts predicting a further hike in borrowing costs. Chris Troy, ITV News.
Giselle on the pot Robert Peston is here with me now. Hi, Robert. We've seen some fallout from the mini-budget there in Chris's piece. We are expecting to see big developments in the sector, which is coming soon. What's he expecting to see?
So just to go back to Joel's BP profits, one of the really striking things there was BP for just a 3-month period handed $2.5 billion to shareholders, despite paying a 25% rate of so-called windfall tax. So Treasury has looked at that, and there will be an additional windfall tax on oil and gas companies. I expect them also to apply for the first time for electricity generators from wind farms and from nuclear power and for alternative sources of electricity. And I expect this windfall tax to last longer than the current one, a couple of years longer. But even when you put all of that together, it's going to raise, one of my calculations, £3-4 billion, something like that. Sounds like a lot of money, but the black hole in the public finances is £50 billion, which is going to be filled roughly 50% by public spending. Which will fill many people with dread. They remember the austerity of the George Orwell years and later, and also by other tax rises. Now, one of the things that the Treasury said overnight was that everybody, all of us, are going to have to make a contribution via the tax system. One way that that's going to happen is that tax thresholds currently frozen are going to be frozen for a couple more years. It's a self-tax. It's a particularly when there's high inflation, it's a hidden way of taking much more money from all of us. But even with all of that, it doesn't fill that £50 billion hole. So what the the Treasury is working on, they've only got a couple of weeks, is what public services can they cut, what investments can they cut? People aren't going to feel up to that, particularly for their welfare and for the future economic prospects of the country, and what further taxes can go up. This is going to be not called a budget, but it's going to feel like the most important budget for at least a decade.
What market? The duck coming off.
Plenty more still come the ITV news, including police injured and property damaged after lighting disorder on the streets of London and Dundee as gangs aimed fireworks at passers-by.
I've been sleeping all night. I'm really upset this morning. I don't want to sleep here anymore.
A year after she was killed, a man goes on trial accused of murdering Megan Newborough. Police take action to clear the streets of protesters in Brazil following the recent presidential elections.
These police are known as a shock team and they're good to their name. They come in fast, firing tear gas to clear the roads and get the traffic moving.
We'll be back with those stories and John.
That'd be ideal for you, wouldn't it? What? A man of farm and house.
This is
Over
Martin.
55.
Martin wears his lucky shirt. Every game.
You're over
It's big
55.
time now, Martin. But Martin doesn't need rituals or pain. He uses cutting-edge technology to help protect his home. He trusts rituals.
It's free.
He trusts
Well,
freedom.
it's not diagnosed.
Now you pay us.
Style at prices you'll love. It's time to Matalan. Sensodyne Repair and Protect Deep Repair is really exciting. This Sensodyne is creating a protective layer. It goes deep inside the tooth to repair sensitivity. The science behind this toothpaste is life-changing. I recommend Sensodyne Repair and Protect Deep Repair. I think it's amazing. At Nurofen, we know that sometimes regular painkillers alone aren't enough. That's why we developed Nuramol Dual Action. It starts working faster than ibuprofen and lasts longer than paracetamol alone. For all-in-one pain relief, Nuramol.
Objects transformed by war.
You won't believe it. The power of herbal essences infused with real cold-pressed argan oil. Parents are 2 times more nourished. Herbal essences. What a feeling.
Anyone can fall victim to a scam, but the Bank of Santander is innovating to keep customers safe.
Introducing fraud detected Scalabags.
That warn customers.
Stop. Scam attack.
Watch what happens when Ant gets a scam text.
Can't touch this. Scams get real. It's hard. Makes me sick. Oh my God. Scams are more stressing me.
For my dog, my money.
You and me. Say much. This is a counter. You can't touch. Stop. Scam attack.
Meanwhile, Santander takes scams very seriously and advises you to stop and think before parting with money or personal details.
The cheesy bacon flatbread. Irresistible beach with smoked bacon and melted cheese.
Hello, we're ITV Win, and we love making winners. Big ones, little ones, all around the UK. Winning cars, holiday homes, cash. Winning thousands of times each week. And you could be next. Head over to ITV Win now for a chance to grab an incredible £500,000 in tax-free cash. But hurry, as online entries close at 4 PM this Friday. So what are you waiting for? Search ITV Win now. And don't just sit there, win there.
That's it, good. 4 stars. And then all the others I've had 5 stars. Well, because it wasn't what she wanted.
Welcome back. sale of fireworks has been banned at one major supermarket in Dundee after police were attacked in a night of disorder. One officer was injured, a school was damaged, and so a number of vehicles. The police have condemned the actions and said that they would identify everyone responsible. Here's our Scotland correspondent, Peter Smith.
Teenage gangs took over the Curtin estate in Dundee last night, and for 10 hours they were able to unleash complete chaos. Bins were set on fire to block the roads, police were met with bricks and fireworks. One officer was wounded, but as these images show, it could have been so much worse. Children as young as 12 were involved, smashing with impunity. One pensioner who witnessed the carnage at the end of her garden told us she feared for her life.
This was only 10 miles from the house. There was no escape. I just wanted to get out, get away from it. There was nowhere to go.
The lady suffers ill health and doesn't want to show her face, fearful the gangs will target her.
I didn't like to show my face. It's scary. And it's disgusting all the time.
Did you do it through Wi-Fi or yours, the post office?
And really, I said to my husband,
Have you had any feedback yet?
I don't want to see you anymore.
You had
Carefully
writing the codes.
Last night's Halloween nightmare wasn't confined to Dundee. There were similar scenes in East London. Fireworks, seemingly in plentiful supply, and fired indiscriminately. All filmed, of course, for notoriety on social media. This morning back in Dundee, the scale of damage became clear. Burned out debris, the local school windows smashed.
This is what's left from one of the roadblocks that was set on fire here last night. But it's not just about the physical damage left here in Kirkton. There's a psychological harm on the people, particularly the elderly, who were trapped and frightened in their own homes.
Today, police insisted these streets have now been made safe.
I can assure our local residents that whilst I appreciate that that was distressing last night, that there will be an enhanced police presence seen over the coming days to ensure that we've got that high visibility and assurance in our local communities.
But few Kirkton residents are daring to go out after dark tonight. Even after the local supermarket announced it's stopping the sale of fireworks, the streets remain quiet. In this community, the damage has been done. Peter Smith, ITV News, Dundee.
Jerry has heard that a 23-year-old woman was murdered by a colleague who then staged a calculated and carefully executed cover. Megan Newborough's body was found in Leicestershire. Ross McCullum admits manslaughter, but he denies murder. Our Midlands reporter Ellie Pitt is at Leicester Crown Court for us right now. Ellie, what did the court hear today?
Today, Mary, the jury heard the prosecution's case about what happened on the night Ross McCullum allegedly murdered Megan Newborough. The jury were told that 23-year-old Megan was well-liked, responsible, and looking forward to moving into her own home. That she'd met Ross McCullum at work, and they'd been in a relationship of sorts for about a month. And on the 6th of August last year, they decided to meet up at his home. Megan told her parents that she was going for a walk with the defendant, who she named as Ross, and that she wouldn't be back late. But the prosecution alleged the moment she was inside, this cunning and resourceful murderer attacked her with great violence. The prosecution alleged that Mr. McCullum strangled Megan before disposing of her body down a quiet lane in overgrown brambles, and then tried to cover up what he'd done by continuing to call and text Megan's phone after he'd killed her. Now, Mr. McCullum admits killing Megan, but says that he didn't intend to do so. He was very emotional in the dock today, crying as the case was set out against him. His murder trial continues here at Leicester Crown Court.
Ellie Pitt in Leicester, thank you. Bit of some other news now. Personal items found at the scene of the Seoul crush have been laid out as police hope relatives and friends might retrieve them. More than 150 people were killed in the South Korean crowd surge. Police have assembled 1.5 tons of crumpled tennis shoes, loafers and trainers in the chilling reminder of the severity of the tragedy. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi arranges the site of the suspension bridge collapse in Gujarat, which killed at least 135 people. Protesters have been gathering in capital New Delhi, demanding compensation for the victims' families. And Elon Musk's SpaceX launched its Falcon Heavy rocket on Tuesday for the first time in more than 3 years. Thick fog shrouded NASA's Kennedy Space Center as the rocket blasted off at mid-morning. Now, police in Brazil have been told to clear roads which have been blockaded by truckers who support the defeated former President Jair Bolsonaro. The protests are being held in 20 states right across the country, and our correspondent Emma Murphy is at a blockade in Sao Paulo for us now. Emma, what's going on with those protests where you are?
Well, they've just got this road open. It's been closed since early this morning, like many other across Brazil, when truckers who very much believe in the presidency of Jair Bolsonaro parked up and refused to allow anybody to pass. They lit fires and basically just sat in the middle of the road. Brazil has ordered that they be cleared, and that is when the special police force came in, firing tear gas on them repeatedly. Now, this did succeed in clearing some of the road, but there was great shock because many of the people here believe that the security forces are on their side, but they also believe in a Bolsonaro government. So there were really angry exchanges between protesters who were very shocked that the police had done this. But, you know, the police are facing a fine of 17,000 an hour if they didn't move, as were the truckers. It seems one side actually believed in it.
Emma, we're expecting the outgoing President Jair Bolsonaro to speak soon. What are we expecting to hear from him?
Yeah, so he's expected to speak in the next few minutes, and it'll be the first time anybody has heard him in public since he was defeated by the President-elect Lula da Silva on Sunday night. Now, what will be interesting is whether he concedes, whether he accepts that he's been defeated and accepts that it was a free and fair election, or whether he rejects his defeat, or potentially the other option is that he accepts he was defeated, but calls into question what happened in the vote and whether or not it was a free and fair ballot.
Emma Murphy in Sao Paulo, Brazil, for us. Thank you. You are watching our TV news. Here's what's still ahead before Ender. Football fans get guidance on the do's and the don'ts of watching the World Cup in Qatar.
Now, whether we think it's right, wrong, or indifferent to have your shirt off, we're going to tell the fans, you are now causing annoyance.
Yeah, the health checks that could catch pancreatic cancer in those crucial early stages.
It's a silent disease, so very often people don't have any symptoms until it's too late.
Some of cinema history's most iconic outfits go under the hammer.
And I'll have the very latest weather as wind warnings have been issued for the daytime tomorrow across the north and west.
But before all that, a special report on how single-parent families are increasingly turning to schools for help with the spiralling cost of living. Last night, you may remember, we showed how one academy in Bradford is taking extra measures to make sure that pupils are fed and to help those who can't afford to actually travel to school. Well, tonight, in the second of her reports, our social affairs correspondent, Sarah Corker, here's the impact that's having on their struggling parents.
Eat their heart, eat, and it's my parents are working every hour they can, and it's not enough to pay the bills.
Angry, upset, I can't sleep at night, I'm worried. How does it affect us to live?
We've got 52 packs today.
Charities are inundated with families asking for help at a time when donations are falling.
Never have I seen this start, to be perfectly honest. The rising number of families that are seeking support from us is rising daily.
The volunteers supporting those struggling now need food parcels themselves.
They need help, but not really getting much of it.
We've been hearing from families who are already running out of choices. This is the reality of Britain's economic crisis. Shireen's just finished work and is on the school run in Bradford with 9-year-old Nevaeh.
What's your favourite lesson?
Art. As petrol, food and energy costs spiral, it's
It's single parent families who often struggle the most.
How often do you get the bags then?
We get it once a week.
This latest food parcel delivery is a huge relief.
It's a big help, and it's the way that you off the shoulder, isn't it? What do you tend to get then in something like this?
Tuna for school sandwiches, chapatis, to mix chapatis with that, which is an activity in itself.
Yeah, Shireen's rent has increased by £100. Her energy bills doubled, but her wages haven't gone up. She's a support worker for adults with learning disabilities, earning minimum wage.
Oh, I've never liked this when I was a kid. Honestly, it's just seems to be getting worse. There's more light at end of the tunnel, and I think it's disgusting. I really do. It's not on if we're not getting that help from the government. I mean, it's upsetting. They're meant to help us, but we're not getting that help.
And how much of your energy bills being put up to?
Well, they wanted to put it up to 240 quid.
A month?
Yeah. And I said I can't afford it. I physically cannot afford that.
These are big old houses, they're expensive to keep, they're not particularly energy efficient. And I've spoken to families who are working 2 jobs and they still can't keep on top of the household bills. And this is a close-knit community, everyone knows each other here, and to admit, to say out loud that you're struggling, that you can't cope, that's a really difficult thing.
There are pockets of severe poverty here. In this part of Bradford, on average, the life expectancy is 10 years less than in a neighbouring area.
Do you have a look inside?
Yeah,
See how many there are?
Today, the Penny Appeal charity is dropping off hundreds of food parcels at schools across Yorkshire.
Flag headers will be careful.
Demand has surged by 400% in a year.
Schools are doing more than they've ever had to do before, aren't
We look back to a couple
of years ago, schools were not having to do this sort of thing. You know, the children come to school, have their education, and they go home. Now they're engaging with families more and more to provide them with support like this. The reality is we've got families where the parents are not eating because of children.
20 miles away in Wakefield, staff at Park Hill Primary School are up at dawn so their pupils are fed.
How long have you been eating breakfast for?
Like 10 years.
10 years? What do you usually eat when you come in?
Like some bacon sauce cereal.
For April's mum, Tammy, free breakfast though is a huge help.
The daughter tries everything to about everything. What is the actual question? Really, is what I'm gonna do.
And you're obviously smiling about it, but is it because it's just kind of
Exactly. If you don't smile, you're gonna cry, aren't you? So.
Got that right,
A couple
darling.
of weeks later, we catch up with April and Tammy after school.
How's your day been?
Oh, it's been alright.
Finances have got even tighter. As a self-employed cleaner, Tammy's work is drying up as people cut back on spending.
I used to work a lot of bookings during the week, but now I can't afford that because they are dropping back, so it's only like 1 hour with one person or 2 hours with another, do you know what I mean? So it's not adding up to what it should have been. It's hard, that's why we're still trying to look for something better.
And schools are stepping in like never before. This second-hand uniform shop helps to keep costs down. What have you got today then?
I've got 2 t-shirts for my 10-year-old, 2 with under £1, so it's a big saving. It's just a daunting thought that you're having to think, is it going to be food on the table while putting heating on, and nobody should ever feel like that.
And it's those with the least who are suffering the most. Back in Bradford, Jordan's sorting through donated clothes. She's a volunteer here that needs help herself.
I've also got one volunteer at home, so that's the first thing I'm doing. There's these energy payments and stuff like that, but they're still ongoing so far.
6 months pregnant and on universal credit, Jordan often can't afford to top up the energy meter.
How do you think you're going to manage that going forward then? I'll either put my emergency credit on or do you think the government and people in charge get what people are going through? No, they won't know what they're. They're okay. It's on their high horse.
And and she leaves, now having to choose which bill she can afford to pay.
There's not so much stuff you can cut back on.
So,
I mean, what back can we do?
And how are you feeling about Christmas?
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. It's just giving me anxiety and stress.
And as the cold nights draw in, millions of families are now asking how on earth they're going to get through this winter.
Well, Sarah, you've seen in your piece some really desperate people, terrible situations. Is there any help coming for those people?
Mary, the most vulnerable households are getting an extra £1,200 from the government to help with rising costs. There is support too on energy bills worth hundreds of pounds. And families, of course, are grateful for that, but for many of them, that doesn't touch the sides. Over the last decade, figures show that child poverty in single-parent households has risen by 10%. And in response to our reports, I've been hearing from head teachers from across the country who are telling me every single day they are seeing firsthand the devastating impact of all of this on children. And it's estimated that 800,000 children living in poverty are currently not eligible for free school meals. And that's why charities want the criteria extended as more families are falling below the red line.
Sarah Corker in Wakefield, thank you. Okay, let's get an update on what's making the news tonight. The former Health Secretary Matt Hancock has been suspended from the Conservative Party after it was announced he is to appear in this year's I'm a Celebrity, which is being filmed on location in Australia. Anti-terror police have started investigating the firebombing of an immigration processing centre over the weekend. And it has been announced the energy giant BP made more than £7 billion between July and September this year, leading to renewed calls for the government to increase windfall taxes. British police officers have been sent to the World Cup in Qatar to try to prevent misunderstandings between fans and local authorities. The Chief Constable in charge of football policing today outlined the steps they're taking to keep England and Wales fans safe. But less than 3 weeks to go, it has done little to ease the fears of LGBTQ fans planning to attend. As John Ray now reports.
Oh, yes, please! From backyard kickabout to the big kickoff, excitement is mounting in the Brady household. Tickets bought, flights booked.
I can't wait for this, but it's probably one of my dream things to do, and now I'm lucky at the age of 12 I'll be able to do with my partner.
Obviously they are very strict, but I'm more comfortable taking him to Qatar than I would say a World Cup will be held in Europe.
It might be better for children, but what about grown-up pleasures? Qatar's World Cup promises not just a contest of football nations, but a clash of cultures.
People singing in the street though, people taking their shirts off, or people maybe urinating against the wall. I mean, that's not, I know it's not around here, but things like this which might get a politically slight set off might be really serious, eh?
And that is one of the main fears of both the British government and the British police. Their solution unveiled today to deploy a team of support engagement officers, not a form of proxy morality police, they insist, but a buffer between fans and local law enforcement.
To be telling them to put the shirts back on, not to have another beer, that kind
Well,
of thing.
I think the important thing is, if it was that fans were drinking, have the shirts off, and we perceive there's been a reaction by the local police. Now, whether we think it's right, wrong, or indifferent to have your shirt off, we're going to tell the fans, you are now causing annoyance.
Organisers promise a welcome football, but in a country in which to be gay is a crime, many LGBTQ supporters are staying away.
They offer no reassurance. Nobody said that they'd removed the death penalty from the statute. Nobody has said that they will not stop imprisoning and sending to conversion therapy, which is basically torture gay men, and forcing others to live in exile.
In Qatar, football will enter uncharted territory. For many reasons, this World Cup is already destined to be like no other. John Ray, ITV News.
Next tonight, what could be a really important development in the fight against pancreatic cancer. Every year, more than 10,000 people are diagnosed with the disease in the UK, and it's nearly always found too late to be cured. Well, now, new research has highlighted some early symptoms which could help improve diagnosis and survival rates. Arthur Fairley now explains.
Laura Johnson was one of Moran was in her 70s when she was diagnosed with diabetes, but her health problems continued. By the time doctors discovered she had pancreatic cancer, she only had a few weeks to live. Her symptoms had been overlooked.
Mum lost pretty much lost 3 stones, but we thought it was down to the diabetes. We went shopping, she was all excited buying new clothes, and unfortunately that was one of the main symptoms. But because of the type 1 diabetes diagnosis, it just kept getting put down to that.
Like Moran, 90% of pancreatic cancer cases are diagnosed too late to be cured. But in the largest study of its kind, researchers at the University of Surrey have analysed the early changes patients experience in weight loss and raised blood sugar levels.
It's a silent disease, so very often people don't have any symptoms until it's too late. So the knowledge of how those symptoms behave in people with pancreatic cancer and compare this to people that will never have pancreatic cancer or that do not have pancreatic cancer at the moment might help clinicians to be more alert to those symptoms.
Compared with other forms of cancer, survival rates for pancreatic cancer are extremely poor. So a better understanding of the symptoms and when they occur could make a huge difference to early diagnosis. It's thought that in future many cases could be detected up to 3 years sooner.
A third of patients actually present with new onset diabetes before their diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. So with an incidence rate of 10,000 a year, we're talking nearly 3,000 people a year. So if only a proportion of them get diagnosed early, that could really move the numbers of pancreatic cancer.
More research is now needed to develop diagnostic tools for clinicians and to make more people aware of the early symptoms of this deadly cancer. Martha Fairley, OTV News.
Coming up in the ITV News, after the break. Movie fans have a chance to get their hands on memorabilia from the sets of Star Wars and Blade Runner, to name just a few.
And as the top words of the year are announced, I'll explain how splooting hit the top 10 as our pets struggle to keep cool in the summer heat waves.
Join me and Alex for that, and the podcast in just a minute. Splooting. Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day, this lecture hall will be made of code. And though they're virtual students, what they're learning together is real. A surgeon will be able to practice as many times as needed in the metaverse before laying her hands on a real patient. These students aren't ready back in 32 BCE, but they can still watch Mark Antony debate in ancient Rome. The metaverse may be virtual, but the impact will be real.